Welcome to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuck. And the episode number is now almost my age. It is episode 31.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah, we're still doing it. We haven't killed each other yet, so
No.
that's all to the good.
Yeah, we're still having fun. We're still excited to record.
Yeah, technology issues notwithstanding.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys know how it is. Oh, speaking of which, one little bit of housekeeping is our Patreon is not searchable right now.
Yeah.
On Patreon, it would be better if you're looking for it to use the links on our website or on our Instagram Linktree. Thank you.
Yes. It can be found through the links, but yeah, if you're trying to search on Patreon, it unfortunately won't show up.
It has come to our attention
Yeah.
that it won't work, so yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
But
We're working on
we
it.
love you guys. Thanks for listening, and if you know, even if you don't, you can't support, then that's fine. We still like listening is still a very good support, and you can always go leave us a review too.
Yeah,
So.
and even if you're not a patron, is the poll still up?
Yeah, there's a poll
Yeah.
you can take on Patreon.
Yeah, there's a
about
poll.
what kind of content.
Yeah, so you can go take that. I took it. I mean,
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice.
I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that's ever taken, but I did take it. I can't remember what I clicked.
It's hard. I get it. People are like, sometimes, you're listening to something and they're like, go do this. And you're like, I can't right now, but I'll try and remember later.
Yeah.
If you're driving, we get it.
Even people checking out the website. Come on, people. Check out the website more. It's so good.
I like a website. I like how we post the pictures, to go along with it, because I did enjoy that about other websites when they're talking about a case and they're like, well, look at the picture on the drive, and then they talk about the picture, and then they're like, you can see it on our website, and then I'm like, okay, cool,
Yeah.
because I want to see what you guys are freaking talking about.
Yeah, I like
So.
to be able to see pictures of, like, not even the killers, but, like, the victims and stuff, because, I don't know,
Yeah.
it definitely makes me feel more, like, attached to them than just hearing about it and it being, like, an imaginary person, but when you see their face and you're like, oh, that person just looked really sweet, like...
Yeah, it really humanizes them even more than just hearing their name
Yeah.
and stuff can. Yeah. But yeah, so this week we are doing another movie-themed one. If you
Yeah.
haven't guessed, we're kind of movie geeks.
Yeah,
think
we
that's
are.
obvious. But
Yeah.
so this time it's like horror movies based on true crimes, of which we found there is a lot. I was like, holy shit, I want to do a bunch of them.
Yeah, I'd like click into a list and it'd be like the top 67 horror movies inspired by true crime, and I was like 67. Like, it's like, jeez.
Right, and then you're like, you can narrow it down. There was one that I wanted to learn more about, but then they were like, well, there's no facts available.
Yeah.
Basically.
That can
So I was like, well, can't do that.
that can happen, or they say even in their little write up on the list that it's pretty much only the killer's name or something, and the rest of it's not even at all remotely close.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
Yeah, maybe
That
not.
wouldn't take up much time.
Yeah. One page.
Hi, the guy's name is Bob Roberts, and it's over. The end.
Yeah, right? We're like, this segment is 10 minutes long.
Well, yeah, it's okay. We won't try to make it too long, but this one might be a little long.
Yeah, we just discovered both of our cases are quite long, so we'll see.
It's okay. They're interesting, I think. You said yours was, and I know mine is, and most people probably have heard of the movie.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you didn't tell
Who
me
should
what
go
yours
first?
is. You didn't tell me what yours is, but you
No,
just
I
told me I
didn't.
probably know it. So,
the movie is pretty well known.
Okay.
Do you want... I wish we could ask the listeners, who do you want to go first?
Right.
Shout it out, guys. We'll hear it. No.
Yeah.
From the future. Oh my god.
I don't even know. I can go first.
Okay. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about yours.
Yeah.
Not that I recall. You might have told me the name, but...
Yeah, I gave
Don't
you
remember.
a heads up because I picked mine when we were actually doing... I had picked mine when I picked which exorcism case I wanted to do. So...
Right.
Hold on.
I know. We're bing bang booming these out. We were just recorded one last night, and
Yeah.
we're trying to get ahead of the game to keep bringing this stuff out to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you pick?
My case is called the Texarkana Moonlight Murders. That's
Ah, yes.
often what
It
it's
does
called.
sound fairly familiar, but I don't know the details.
Yeah, so this one, I researched it like crazy. There was a whole bunch of information on it. Actually, some of the most information I've ever found on a true crime case. And
Wow.
then after doing all of this information, none of it ever sounded familiar. And then I was on YouTube the other day, and in like my YouTube suggested thing, it told me, oh, it's suggesting BuzzFeed Unsolved, the Texarkana Moonlight Murders. And I was like, well, I've watched every BuzzFeed Unsolved, so I've definitely watched this one, and I had no recollection of it. So about an hour and a half ago, I rewatched their thing and got a bit more information, so that was kind of cool.
Okay, I was gonna say maybe because it's not as long as some of the other things that have covered it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Or did they?
their episodes are normally like maxed out at about half an hour.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. I haven't watched a lot of it, to be honest.
I do have to say the majority of my information, surprisingly enough, came from Wikipedia. That was
Okay.
just an absolute insane write-up.
Well, it's a great place to start. I know a lot of people say
Yeah.
too, because like you find the sources right there that
Yeah, and you
they're
like,
using and
hover
you-
over
you
it
use
and
it as
it
a
tells
jumping
you.
off point.
Yeah. So, yeah, this ended up being quite long. So, yeah, it was about 40 pages, and I got it down to 8. So,
I know, you were like, I have 40 pages, and I was like, but wait, what? How did you type that up? Like, 'cause, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't count how many pages like I read or whatever, but yeah, just we do it in such a different way. I was like,
yeah,
oh my god, what have
I-
you done?
when I find a source, I copy and paste all the text out of it, and then put that all into a Word document, and then I use that to, like, retype my notes and stuff.
Right, and you said you read it, you read it from there and stuff.
Yeah, because it's easier than having all these ads pop up in my face and we want to send you mailing, so send us your email address. Those shit popping up all the time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you keep reading? Pay us now.
Yeah. Oh. So the Texarkana Moonlight Murders are a series of, I hate to say it, unsolved murders
Oh. Okay.
and violent attacks that were committed in the area of Texarkana, which is a city on the border of Texas and Arkansas.
That damn well makes sense if it
Yeah.
wasn't in Texas.
Texarkana.
Or whatever. It'd be like, why do you call it that? Yeah.
So they happened in the spring of 1946. So it's an oldie.
Oh, wow.
And they were
Yeah.
committed by a serial killer known as the Phantom Killer or the Phantom Slayer.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a band.
Yeah. Phantom Slayer is pretty good.
Yeah.
So the killer attacked 8 people within a span of about 10 weeks. And out of the 8 people attacked, 5 of them were killed.
That's a short amount of time.
Yeah. As I said, the case is classified officially as unsolved. A lot of people do believe that the person that committed them was eventually caught. So we'll get into that at the end.
Okay, so there's at least a theory.
Yeah, there's
As to who
quite
it
a
was.
few suspects, so I'll cover those at the end. So, a tiny bit of background. Texarkana at the time in the 40s was a very, like, pretty violent place. There was a lot of robberies, murders, killings, shootings. They were all pretty common at the time.
Oh,
And
lovely.
yeah, because of this, a lot of the like community was kind of, they said, like desensitized to what was going on. And when these crimes were first reported, the community didn't really pay attention to them, and they kind of thought they were isolated incidents and that there wasn't like a serial killer on the loose.
Okay. That's unfortunate, but yeah, it's like a city
Yeah.
thing where it's like, oh, well, yeah, that stuff happens. It's like, well, it's
Yeah.
not that great.
BuzzFeed Unsolved even said that the city at the time was called like Little Chicago because it was that bad.
The heck? Wow.
Yeah, because Chicago's pretty bad for crime. So, yeah, they had dubbed this like the Little Chicago of like Texas or something.
That reminds me of, I was listening to a podcast the other day that does a top 10 list every time, and it was like the top places in the US for like bodies found, and yeah, I think one
God.
was like a park in Chicago, I think.
Just a park, not even Chicago. Oh, God.
Yeah, I know the places were surprising. Yeah, it's called 10-ish podcast. It's actually, it's
10-ish?
pretty good.
Oh, that sounds
10-ish.
good.
Yeah, because sometimes it won't be exactly 10 things, but like the one person picks the list and the other guy tries to guess what's on it. It's
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
fun.
it is. It's interesting. Yeah, they're cool. I've like interacted with them on our Instagram and stuff too, so you'd like it.
Yeah, I'll have to give them a listen. So, yeah, that's a little bit about Texarkana. So, jumping into the first murder. On February...
Jumping right in
Yeah.
to the blood. Yeah.
And this is, like, I have to say these are extremely violent and pretty graphic in the details of all of these. So...
I mean, what better time to do it than in our October series? Then?
yeah, this is, like, pretty bad. So...
You sickos want all the true crime, so here it is.
February 22nd, 1946. It's around 11:55 p.m. on a Friday. And Jimmy Hollis, who's 25, and his girlfriend Mary Jean Leary.
Oh my god, adorable. But, like,
yeah.
Mary Jean and...
Jimmy
Fuck,
Hollis.
what was the guy's name?
Jimmy Hollis. Isn't that such an
Jesus.
old-fashioned name? It's great.
Yeah.
So Mary Jane is 19, Jimmy Hollis is 25, and they're parked on a secluded road known as Lover's Lane.
Of
As
course.
any good shooting serial killer thing is. It's always on a lover's lane.
Very
And-
Zodiac killer, yeah.
Yeah. So this was after they had gone to see a movie, and this lover's lane was
Oh.
about 50 feet off an unpaved road, and then about 100 yards away from the last row of city homes in town.
Okay. Yeah, very secluded.
Yeah, so they're parked there when suddenly a man wearing a white cloth mask resembling a pillowcase with eye holes cut out appeared at Hollis's driver's door, and he shone like a flashlight into the window of the car and then started pointing a pistol at the couple.
Ew.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not... Yeah, you said it wasn't around Halloween. You said it was February, right?
Yeah, this is February.
Yeah,
So-
that's not good.
Yeah,
That he's got a mask on.
no. Hollis responded, he thought it was kind of a prank, so he responded that he had the wrong person. And the
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The hooded man responded, "I don't want to kill you, fellow, so do what I say." The couple were ordered out of the car using the driver's side door. So, like, Mary Jane had to, like, crawl over the console and everything to get out the driver's side door as well. And Hollis...
Okay.
Yeah. So Hollis was ordered to, quote, take off his goddamn breeches, so his pants. And then he was hit and struck twice in the head with the pistol, and he fell to the ground.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Why did it... Okay. Sorry.
So, Mary Jane Larry, she thought that Hollis had actually been shot because the impact of him getting hit in the head by the pistol was so loud. But it was actually Hollis getting a skull fracture.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So,
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, that would be awful. Larry thought that they were being robbed, so she grabbed Hollis's wallet and showed the hooded figure that, like, it was empty and that they didn't have any money.
They just spent all their money at the movies. They fucking spent $150 to go see a movie.
Probably significantly less because this is the 40s, but
yeah,
they spent
the equivalent of.
They spent $2.95 to see a movie. No,
they went to the picture show and spent a quarter.
Came back with change. So she thought they were being robbed. So she showed the man the empty wallet, and then she too was hit in the head by the pistol, and she fell to the ground. The guy told her to stand, and then he told her to start running, but he told her to start running in a specific direction, which obviously she has a gun pointed at her, so she started running.
Yeah.
So while running, she saw an old car that was abandoned, so she ran over to it, but then noticed that it was empty, and that's when the hooded man caught up to her, and this part's weird. He asked her why she was running, and she responded that he had told her to do so, and he started calling her a liar.
The fuck, buddy?
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of good reasons why she was running, so...
Yeah.
You can... What a psychopath.
So, he knocked her to the ground, probably, like, struck her or pushed her to the ground, I guess. And then it's reported he sexually assaulted her with the barrel of his gun.
Oh.
Yeah. And after this assault, Larry ran away and ended up running to a nearby house after attempting to flag down, like, a passing car that didn't stop for her. So she got to this house and she woke up the residents, who helped her call the police. So,
thank God.
Yeah. During this time, Hollis, her boyfriend, had regained consciousness by the car, and he had managed to flag down a passing vehicle, but this is, like, weird. The driver of that vehicle left him at the scene and drove to a nearby funeral home instead to call the police and have the police meet him back at his car. So they didn't, like, take him to call the police. They left him there.
Yikes. Sounds like they were scared. Yeah. That's unfortunate, though.
Yeah. Police arrived, and the hooded man, of course, was nowhere to be seen. Hollis's pants were found about 100 yards away from his parked car. So it's assumed that the hooded man, like, took them and moved them.
Sorry. It's very strange. You just took... I don't understand why the pants had to come off.
Right?
I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
So Larry ended up just staying in hospital just overnight. Hollis stayed for about 12 days due to his skull fractures. And when they were interviewed by police, unfortunately, they gave conflicting statements to police about what the hooded figure looked like.
Oh, okay. They remembered a little differently.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd say this is all pretty relative in the end. So Larry, the girlfriend, said it was a light-skinned black man who had a white bag over his head. Well, Hollis said that it was a dark-skinned white man around 30. So.
Well, she was the one that was with him longer and was sexually assaulted. Presumably she'd seen more of his body.
Yeah.
But people, it happens so much. Like, our recollections are just so terribly shoddy, as I just demonstrated when I forgot fucking Jimmy's name 2 seconds later after you said it.
So Hollis, the boyfriend, kind of said, he kind of, like, backed down and said he wasn't sure because there was a flashlight in his eyes. and stuff. And just like you said, he had only had like a couple minutes with him when his girlfriend had to like run through the woods and get assaulted by him. But both did agree that he was about 6 feet tall. And for some reason, because the police didn't know it was going to be a repeated like occurrence or a serial killer on their hands, the police actually believed that the couple knew the identity of their attacker and that they were trying to cover for them.
What? Based on what?
Yeah, that made absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, doesn't track well. I mean, yeah, they got away alive, but it still seems like they're just like trying to brush it off, hoping that it wasn't just random. They're like, oh yeah, they probably knew him.
Yeah. Jeez. So the second, or I guess the next attack, is March 24th, 1946. Richard L. Griffin, age 29, and his girlfriend Polly Ann Moore, age 17, were found dead in Griffin's 1941 Oldsmobile between 8:30 and 9 a.m. on Lover's Lane after having dinner with Griffin's sister the night before.
I like how you know it was an Oldsmobile.
Right? I like that. I included it because my first vehicle was an Oldsmobile, and
okay,
because they don't make them anymore, it's kind of like a big thing. I used to like be at the gas station putting gas in my car, and a guy would just drive up and be like, "You have an Oldsmobile," and I'd be like, "Yeah."
It's such a weird name too, I think. Yeah. It's just like, of course it went obsolete. You called it old.
Yeah, I called mine the Youngmobile.
No. I call Pat's car the Patmobile.
The Patmobile?
Yeah, I couldn't remember. All of a sudden I was like, wait, what? I've said mobile so many times it's lost all meaning. But yeah, like the Batmobile, you know.
Yeah, the Patmobile. That's pretty good. So, Griffin, he was found between the front seats. He was on his knees with his head resting on his hands, which were crossed. And Moore was found in the back seat. She was kind of like sprawled, laid out, and she was face down. Griffin had been shot twice while still in the car, and his pants pockets had been turned inside out. Like kind of inferring that somebody tried to rob him. And
okay. Maybe that's what the first pants were about.
Maybe. I don't know. So out of both of them being shot, both of them had been shot once in the back of the head, and they were both found fully clothed. So...
Wow. It's like so execution style, almost.
Yeah. There was a blood-soaked patch of ground near the car that suggested to police that one or both of them had been killed outside the car and then placed back inside. There was congealed blood found covering the running board of the vehicle, and it had flowed through the bottom of the car door. So they were still bleeding when they were put back in the car. So they couldn't have been fully dead, I guess. Okay.
I see.
So rain during the night and part of the day until they were found again around 9 a.m. had washed away any other evidence.
Damn, that sucks.
There was a 32 cartridge shell found at the scene, possibly from a Colt pistol that they believe had been wrapped in a blanket when it was fired.
Oh, as like a silencer maybe?
Yeah. So no sexual assault is believed to have taken place, and police continued their search. At this time, the FBI actually got involved in the case. So they were kind of linking the two together because they both happened on lovers' lanes. And at this time, police even posted a $500 reward for help in a conviction, which at the time instead led to over 100 false leads. So they were getting a whole bunch of calls.
That kind of backfired.
Mm-hmm. So the community themselves at this time were believing the attacks still to be isolated incidents and that they weren't related. So even though the police and like now the FBI is involved, the community still doesn't believe that they're connected.
I mean, just let the police do their job, but be on the lookout. Be alert.
Yeah.
Like, anyway. Dummies.
So, on the next pair, April 13th of 1960, or should be 1946, not 1964. I was like,
took a really long break.
Jump almost 20 years. No. 1946, 15-year-old Betty Jo Booker was playing the saxophone with her band, the Rhythmaires, at their weekly gig at the Veterans of Foreign Wars Club. And at 1:30 a.m. on the 14th, so they were playing quite late into the night, so on the 14th, her friend Paul Martin, 17, came to pick her up, and this was the last time that either of them were seen alive.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
They're just dropping like flies now.
Yeah. So Martin's body was found around 6:30 a.m. lying on its side near kind of the side of the road, and there was blood found on a nearby fence. He had been shot 4 times, including once through the nose, through the ribs, through his right hand, and once in the back of the head.
Jeez.
Yeah.
There's, like, he's not giving these people a chance.
No. Like, it's all, like executions. Like, once in the back of the head is such an, like, execution type thing to do.
Yeah. And then, yeah, because it can be, like, overkill, literally, when they shoot them again and again just to make sure.
Yeah.
Double tap, triple tap, like, yeah.
So, the girl Booker, she was found at 11:30 a.m., about, some sources differed, either 1 or 2 miles away. She was fully clothed on her back with one hand in the pocket of her buttoned overcoat. So there's actually pictures of these two, of their bodies that I found.
Aww.
So she's laying on her back and she's wearing like a, kind of like a fall jacket. It would be like a heavy, kind of like a tweed long, heavy, like knee-length jacket. It's like fully buttoned up. And her one hand's out, and her other hand is kind of like awkwardly shoved in the pocket, and she's laying on her back underneath like a tree. So
she might have been shot from behind, do they think?
So she had been shot 2 times, once through the chest, and then also in the face.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez,
this guy's
really on a killing spree.
He really likes headshots. It's a very running theme. Everybody, yeah. So Booker had also been sexually assaulted. So it's presumed that the person probably sexually assaulted her and then either had her redress or shot her and then redressed her. It's hard to say because her coat was found completely buttoned up and everything. So Martin's car was found nearby with the keys still inside. And police can't figure out who was shot first. Both were believed to be involved in, like, visible struggles. There was a lot of, like, stuff at the scene. And Booker's saxophone, which she had with her after playing with her band, it was found actually 6 months later in the leather case she carried it in the bushes near where her body had been found. At first, they couldn't find it, so they were putting out, like, bulletins and asking, like, music stores and, like, pawn shops. If anybody turns in, like, a saxophone, we're looking for it.
And then it's literally just in the bushes.
Yeah. So that led to a couple false suspects from people trying to sell saxophones that ended up getting tied up in the case, but...
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Stolen saxes.
So the community at this time finally started to panic, and they really started to panic. Now that 2 people were dead, and the first 2 that were attacked had survived, but this was 6 attacks in less than 2 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a spree.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know if I'm using that right, but it seems like it.
Yeah, it's very quick. Like, there doesn't seem to be a lot of a cooling off period, they say.
Right.
So it said that when men went to work in the morning, that often women and children moved into a downtown hotel that unfortunately was called Hotel Grimm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But I guess they felt safer there in like a community.
Wow. Yeah,
Um,
everybody would be terrified.
funnily and Funny enough, people actually started setting up booby traps in their houses for protection. So they were like rigging doorways that like I found pictures of it too. This woman like proudly is showing off her booby trap she did of like she pretty much has like strings attached everywhere that if her door opens, I don't know what door it is, maybe it's her front door. If the door opens, it's gonna hit a thing and it's gonna cause like a plant pot to like shatter on the ground. Like people are getting intricate.
Wow.
Um,
That's like right out of a TV show or something.
right? Yeah. So at this time, the reward kind of were like pushed together for these three crimes, and it now had accumulated to over $1,700, which in the 40s was quite a bit. So,
Oh, right.
yeah.
I was like, that
Rumors.
seems low.
Yeah, by today's standards, that's incredibly low. Um, rumors were starting to spread in the community about possible suspects, and even that they had somebody in custody. And police had to continuously release statements saying that these rumors were false, and that no one at this time had been arrested, and that they actually didn't
Damn.
even really have any good suspects. The name The Phantom, or Phantom Killer, came from the headlines Phantom Killer eludes officers as investigation of slayings pressed, and Phantom Slayer eludes police. So those were news articles that were released about this time.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Like, they have to keep saying, no, we haven't found him. Like, that
Yeah.
would be demoralizing.
So the last attacks occurred in May 3rd of 1946. Virgil Starks, around 8:50 p.m. He's 37 years old, and he is a farmer and welder. He's at his house that's about 10 miles outside of Texarkana. So this is the first one that doesn't occur in Texarkana.
Oh, wow, branching out.
So Virgil was in his sitting room listening to the radio with a heating pad that he was using for his back. It was like an electric
Aw.
one. Yeah.
Dude.
And his wife Katie, who was 36, was in their bedroom. It said that she was just like lying on the bed. I don't know. Maybe she was, I guess it was 8:50. I was gonna say maybe she's trying to sleep, but it's 8:50. So she's lying in their bedroom and she heard a noise from the backyard. And she yelled for Virgil to turn down the radio so they could try and listen and tell what it was. So Virgil was then suddenly shot twice in the back of the head through the closed double window in the sitting room.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's
Katie,
terrifying.
right? Oh, it's scary. Katie didn't hear the shots, but she heard the sound of the glass breaking. And she ran into the room and she saw Virgil stand up and then suddenly collapse and slump back into the chair. And that's when she saw the gunshot wounds he had in the head and ran to call the police.
Oh my god. You're not safe anywhere. Not even
No.
on your couch.
I have to say though, this Katie is like a machine because she goes through quite the ordeal. All right, so
Oh,
she
bit of a boss bitch.
yeah. So she's running to call the police. So she's standing there, and while she's trying to call the police, she is suddenly shot twice in the face from the same window that Virgil had just been shot from.
Oh no, Katie.
Yeah. So one bullet entered her right cheek and exited behind her left ear, and the other entered just below her lip, broke her jaw, and then splintered multiple of her teeth before lodging itself under her tongue.
Whoa. So she got shot twice in the face, and did she actually live?
Yeah.
Holy
She just
crap.
like powers through. So, she drops to her knees and then somehow was able to get back up on her feet. And she ran to grab the pistol that the couple had in their living room, because it was quite common with like the fear in the community. People were keeping guns everywhere in the house, including like just right beside them in the living room. Like, so she ran to go and get the pistol in the living room, but she said it was really hard to see because of the blood from the gunshots were just like flowing into her eyes and kind of blinding her.
Oh.
So while she's running to grab the pistol, she heard the killer tearing open the rusted screen wire on their back porch. And she thought she was going to be killed, so she stumbled towards her bedroom near the front of the house to try and write a note.
Oh my god.
Meanwhile, I guess the killer like saw her run somewhere else, so he ran back to the back of the house and made his way up the stairs and into the side screen porch through the back screen door. And she heard the killer coming through like the kitchen window, and so from her bedroom she turned around and ran through the dining room, through the bedroom, down a hallway, through another bedroom, and then into the living room and out the front door. And it said that she was leaving behind a virtual river of blood and teeth throughout the house and across the street.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Don't like that image.
No, but this woman, like, she is 100% just going to make it through.
That's crazy. And she doesn't even know if her husband's alive or dead.
I think she was pretty sure he was dead. Because of the headshots, but again, she just got shot in the head twice, too.
Yeah.
So barefoot and still in her blood-soaked nightgown, she ran across the street to her sister and brother-in-law's house. So she's knocking on the door, no one's home. She runs another 50 yards into another neighbor named Prater, so she runs to his house, and she's knocking on the door. He comes and answers, and she just gasped, "Virgil's dead," and then collapsed. So in true Texas fashion, Prater fired a shot into the air to summon the other neighbor, and right, just who left to go get Prater's car, and Prater and the other neighbor drove Katie to the hospital. During this time, it's said that she was still semi-conscious, and that she wasn't going into shock at all. And when she made it to the hospital, she was actually conscious enough that she was able to be questioned before even going into the operating room.
Holy shit.
Yeah. She gets shit done. Like, she's crazy.
The adrenaline was pumping.
Like, I hope if I ever end up, like, seeing the movie in this case, I hope they did her justice, because she sounds, like, crazy.
Could you not find the movie either, did you say?
I didn't want to watch it because they made it like super like crazy. Right. I don't know.
Right, I think we said that off air, but yeah, I remember you said it.
They made it like super
a little explicit.
Yeah, like explicit, like sex based and like stuff, and it was a lot of gore and just kind of that kind of stuff. It wasn't really what I'd say the case is mostly about.
Right.
So due to the fear that was really like rising in the community, when this was called in, there was actually like 20 or 30 police that ended up swarming the farmhouse. And they were trying to gather evidence and question like witnesses and the neighbors. And when police arrived at the scene, some reports say that the chair Virgil had been shot in and had like collapsed back into, it was actually on fire. Because the electric heating pad he had used had caught on fire because it was still plugged in.
Oh no.
And reports actually differ on whether his body was still slumped in the chair and had like also been burned, or if his body had like slumped to the floor after she witnessed it like slump back into the chair, if he had fallen back into the floor and had avoided getting burned. There isn't really consensus on whether or not his body was burned. But investigators do declare that after the killer shot Virgil, they waited patiently outside the window with an eyeline sight like at the like phone, waiting for Katie to run to call the police.
How do they know that?
Because the killer shot her through the same window they shot Virgil through. So some clues were left at the scene, including but they actually differ from what, like, the killer's MO, I'd say. So there was a difference in the caliber of bullet being used. It was a 22 instead of a 32, and it was actually a semi-automatic gun that was being used this time. There was a flashlight found underneath the window, and bloody footprints were around the house and like down even partway through to the highway. Police believed this was the latest phantom strike, so they set up roadblocks and picked up several men in the area for questioning, who were all eventually released.
Wow, so I have no idea still.
Yeah. So bloodhounds were used to track the blood from the scene down to the highway, but the trail was lost. The flashlight was sent to Washington to the FBI, and the unofficial theory for motive among officers at the time was that of, quote, sex mania, as large amounts of money that were in the Starks' house were not taken, and Katie's purse, which was lying on the bed, contained jewelry and money, and it wasn't touched.
So they must be assuming that he gets off on killing people then, because he didn't have time or try to sexually assault any of these victims.
Yeah.
But these two.
Yeah, he just shot them from, I'd say, like a further range than probably the other victims. So
weird.
Right?
He's all over the place, like, I don't know.
Yeah. The title on the front page of the Texarkana Gazette on Sunday, May 5th, 1946 read, "Sex Maniac Hunted in Murders." On the night of Virgil's death, the reward fund was up to $7,025. And the police
now we're talking.
Yeah. The police urged the public to stop spreading misinformation because it was kept getting worse about the crimes, because it was hindering their investigation. So on May 9th, Sheriff Davis was notified that the flashlight found at the Starks murder scene contained no fingerprints. And on Wednesday, May 29th, a colored picture on the front page of the Texarkana Gazette showed the flashlight. It was Texarkana Gazette's first colored photograph. Like spot colored.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And their little blurb said, "Have you seen this 2-cell flashlight? This is a picture in detail of the flashlight found at the scene of the Starks murder. This is a 2-cell all-metal flashlight, both ends of which are painted red. 3 rivets hold the head of the flashlight to the body of the light. There has been only a limited number of these lights sold in this area. If you have owned or know of anyone who owned one of these lights, report at once to Sheriff Davis, Miller County Courthouse, Texarkana. You may be the one to aid in solving the phantom slayings."
It's all down to you.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Police then also asked the public to report anyone who was out of place, or acting strange, or had whereabouts that were unknown on any of the nights of any of the murders. And the rewards for all of the attacks combined was now over $10,000.
Holy shit. Keeps going up.
Yeah. So that was the end of May, was the last attacks, like I said. So by November of this is like a little blurb. So with the Starks murder, the reason why I mentioned the MO and the gun being a bit different is By November of 1948, police actually didn't believe any longer that the murder of Virgil and attempted murder of Katie were actually connected to the other murders due to the older age of the couple and the attack happening at their home instead of in a car on a lover's lane, as well as the difference in the gun.
Oh, geez, guys. Then you're just saying you got two killers on the loose.
Yeah, that was in 1948, but in 1946, there was rumors being spread that the killer had been caught once again and was also in prison. Police, through newspapers, reported that this was false, but no other people could ever provide a description of the killer, other than the first couple, who said it possibly was like a person of color or a dark-skinned white person. They don't really know. It's difficult to confirm what this individual looked like or if they wore a mask during any of these other attacks. But police do know that they always attacked on the weekend, usually 3 weeks apart, and always at nighttime. So, for the search, the murders sent the town of Texarkana into a panic throughout the summer. People were arming themselves. The police patrolled the neighborhoods, and stores even sold out of guns, ammunition, locks, window coverings, and any other, like, protective devices.
No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be buying everything. Most of the town was hiding in fear inside their houses or in the hotels. Some of them even left town.
I mean, if you could, why not?
Yeah. So some people took a different approach, and teenagers were starting to take matters into their own hands by actually trying to bait the Phantom so that they could try and kill him.
Oh my god.
And at night, the town did mostly become a ghost town. There was such a significant drop in sales, it forced a lot of stores to close early. And police were receiving hundreds of imagined reports of prowlers that were keeping them busy. And police had to announce themselves anytime they were, like, going onto somebody's property for fear that they would be shot by the residents because they knew everybody was arming themselves up. So
dear.
They had to, like, announce their presence, say who they were, and be in plain sight and everything, or they'd get shot.
Jesus Christ.
While this was all going on in the community, police and volunteers actually were sitting in cars on lovers' lanes as decoys, trying to catch the Phantom themselves.
It's just so dumb.
Yeah. At the murder scene of Virgil Starks, Sheriff Presley said, quote, "This killer is the luckiest person I have ever known. No one sees him, hears him in time, or can identify him in any way." End quote. Officers have said that the killer is apparently a maniac who is an expert with a gun. And Jimmy Hollis, again, who is the first victim and ended up surviving, said, quote, "I know he's crazy. The crazy things he said to me made me feel like his mind was warped." Yeah.
Good old Jimmy.
Yeah.
You're alive.
So the concern lasted throughout the summer, but it did eventually subside after 3 months had passed with no attacks. And
that's so weird. Just stopped?
Yeah, it just completely stopped. The Texas Rangers left really quietly in Texarkana, little by little, throughout the month of October, and this was not announced to the public for, like, fear that it would, like, prompt the Phantom into attacking again, with, like, the police presence not as high. So police believed him to be extremely smart, and that he knew what was happening in detail with the investigation, and he even knew where police were patrolling at any given time.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe some insider information. Again, it's unsolved. So getting into the last part I have about this is really just about some of the suspects. There's a few others, but these are like the main ones that I feel like are kind of the most prominent, or I guess like promising leads, I guess.
Right, the most likely.
Yeah. So throughout the investigation, almost 400 people have been on the suspect list or been questioned.
Jeez.
Yeah. So the first one, I don't think this one's very likely, but I feel bad for like the mental health of this person, I guess. There was a 18-year-old university freshman named HB. He went by the nickname Doobie. HB Doobie Tennyson. He's an 18-year-old university freshman, and he was found dead in his bed at home from suicide. He had left a note that kind of sent police on a wild goose chase through a bunch of clues and different notes in different spots in the house until they got to a lockbox, which held a note confessing to the killings of 15-year-old Betty Jo Booker and 17-year-old Paul Martin, as well as confessing to the death of 37-year-old Virgil and the attack on 36-year-old Katie Stark.
So, most of them he confessed to?
He confessed to 3 out of the 5 murders and 1 out of the 3 attempted murders. So, like a third of them.
It's so weird.
So, yeah, you can read this note, and stuff. I didn't want to get into it because it's pretty much just like, you may ask why I committed suicide. Well, wouldn't you commit suicide too if you killed, like, 2 people more than once? Like, all this kind of stuff. I don't know.
He was not well.
Yeah. So, there was dozens and dozens of notes that he wrote, and other notes written by him included fake headlines about his body being found. So he had written fake newspaper articles about his own death. As well as a note saying to disregard all prior notes. And none of these were dated. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. His family and the police were, like, completely shocked. And so they started investigating him. They questioned his friends, and his friends were able to give multiple alibis for almost all the nights of the murders. And his brother said that he had not even taught him how to drive until the summer after the murders. So it's pretty unlikely he committed this if he didn't even know how to drive.
Yeah. It sounds like just a false confession.
Yeah. Fingerprints and ballistics also did not match. But he's still one of the main suspects because his cousin John Tennyson, who is a forensic psychiatrist, says that he has connections to most of the victims. So Tennyson worked as an usher at a movie theater where most of the couples went, at least once. And he had...
But I bet a lot of people did go there.
Yeah, it's a movie theater in the 40s, and you're talking about couples going on dates. Yeah. Of course they're going to movies. But the kind of little bit more interesting is he had also been in the same high school band as Betty Jo Booker. And a friend of his had also lived with the sister of Katie Starks. So he does have like a few kind of 6 degrees of separation to these. I'd say the most compelling is probably the high school band.
Right.
Yeah. But I like really don't think an 18-year-old boy did this.
Yeah, it seems unlikely.
Yeah. So, the next thing police focused on was investigator Max Tackett. He actually observed that there were multiple reports of stolen cars that were then later found abandoned whenever the killer made an attack. So, that was kind of a lead. So police ended up staking out a downtown parking lot where a stolen car had now been abandoned. And this led them to Peggy Swinney and her new husband, Ewell Swinney. He was... yeah, Ewell.
Interesting.
Ewell. He was a petty career criminal, mostly dealing with vehicle theft, and he was linked to the case due to statements made by his wife Peggy, as well as some circumstantial evidence. Soon after his arrest, he reportedly, I only found this on Wikipedia, nothing else mentioned it, he had reportedly made what might have been incriminating statements about being a murderer, such as a fear of being sentenced to the electric chair. I guess he kept asking police, like, if he was going to get the electric chair, and they kept being like, we're arresting you for vehicle theft? That's not going to be a death sentence? And he's like, oh, just vehicle theft? Like, you don't know about the other stuff? Yes.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This is all, like, so weirdly circumstantial, though.
Yeah. This one gets a little compelling, but again, there's nobody that's a real standout in this one, in my opinion. So, police went to question Swinney's wife, Peggy, and she confessed in great detail that he was the Phantom Killer, and said that he had killed Betty Jo Booker and Paul Martin. So those were the two that were at the concert. Her story changed in some of the details across several confessions and conversations with the police. And police believed that she was withholding some of the facts due to fear that her husband Ewell, or fear of her husband Ewell, or fear of incriminating herself in the crimes. So, one statement she made was that on the night of Betty Jo and Martin's murders, Peggy said that they were parked nearby and that they were drinking beers in their car when Ewell suddenly left and said he had to go to the bathroom. She said he was gone for about an hour, and Peggy, while he was gone, heard 2 gunshots and I guess didn't do anything, and that it was getting to daylight before Ewell returned. And when he returned, his clothes were actually, like, from the knee down were soaking wet, and then from, like, the knee to the waist were pretty damp. And that when he got to the car, he pretty much, like, jumped in the car and then, like, ripped out of the parking lot as fast as he could.
Okay, that's a little weird.
Yeah. So he was gone for hours. She says she heard 2 gunshots. A kind of different statement she made about the exact same night said that Ewell told her that they were going to the park to actually rob someone. She says in this confession that they both walked up to Martin's car, and Ewell pointed the gun at the couple and told them to get out of the car. Peggy says she refused to search the teenagers for the money for the robbery, which made her husband Ewell angry, and this is when he shot Martin twice. Peggy confesses she allegedly held down Betty Jo in place while Ewell left them at Martin's car to go get his car. And when he returned, he made both the girls get into his car. And this part's quite confusing in her confession. She says they started to drive away. But shortly after that, they went and shot Martin twice. Again, as he had started moving, because he had been shot a total of 4 times. But it's not said that, you know, he was put in the car with them when they started to drive away. So presumably he's not even with them and somehow gets shot twice more. So that's
I
kind of...
don't understand any of it, yeah.
So she says that they shot Martin 2 more times as he had started moving. Ewell took Booker into the woods while Peggy waited in the car, and when Ewell returned, he said he had tried to get some with the teenager, and when she had refused, he had shot her. Yeah, in this confession, however, the really only compelling part in the whole, like, Swinney case of, like, UL and Peggy being involved at all is that in this confession she had one detail that nobody other than investigators knew about. So she said that Martin had a date book. I assume like a day planner kind of thing, date book.
Yeah.
So she said in this confession that they had actually taken it from him and it had been thrown into a bush nearby. And when she said this, police were like taken back because that had never been made public. And actually, most of the police involved in the case didn't even know about it because that fact was only known by the sheriff and a handful of others because the sheriff was actually the one who had found the book in the bushes.
Okay.
So that's about the only compelling thing in them.
Right.
Police claimed that there's possibly a match to some of the scenes of the murder of items that were found at in Ewell's possession. Reportedly, he had previously owned a .32 caliber Colt automatic gun, but he had sold it in a game of craps. Yeah.
Sold it in a game of craps.
I assume
Bet
it means
maybe?
Yeah, I assume they meant he betted. While being accused of murder, he remained silent instead of trying to plead his innocence. So I guess that makes you guilty as well. His fingerprints, they say, did not match anything that was at any of the crime scenes. The police's case kind of
Had
fell.
fingerprints back then?
Yeah,
They didn't.
but I don't think it was very accurate, probably. So Peggy refused to testify against him, and police also couldn't force her to testify in court because, weirdly enough, her and Ewell had gotten married just hours before her arrest when they were staking out the parking garage. So prosecutors ended up dropping the case, but Ewell was still sentenced to a life term because of his like rap sheet of a bunch of car thefts and even forgery. So he was eventually released in 1973 when appeals that had been made revealed he had not had proper representation during trial, and Ewell actually died in a nursing home in 1994.
Okay.
Unknown to either be a prank or an actual confession, an anonymous woman contacted the family members of two victims, once in 1999 and another in the year 2000, apologizing for what her father had done. A picture of, not the letter, but, or actually, yeah, a picture of the letter, and then a letter that the FBI had, because the FBI has actually released their files and made it public on their investigation into this case, which is kind of cool.
Sorry, this letter is someone apologizing?
Yeah, saying that her father committed the crimes, but they don't know who wrote the letter. And Ewell Sweeney, they know is not known that he ever had a daughter.
Okay.
So it could be either a prank, or somebody else, they're not sure. But two of the lead investigators in the case do actually believe Ewell Sweeney to be the Phantom Killer. And in the book, 2014, the book The Phantom Killer, Unlocking the Mystery of the Texarkana Serial Murders, written by Dr. James Presley, he also points to Sweeney as the culprit of all 5 attacks, and Presley believes that there is enough evidence to close the case.
Really?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody's a strong standout. I mean, you got a kid who's 18 that committed suicide and allegedly, confessed to it, but that doesn't make sense. And then this guy, it's all pretty much circumstantial other than the day planner being found.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, there was also a suspect that was a German prisoner of war. who reportedly hitchhiked about this time, and he had said that he had killed 5 people while hitchhiking. He had, out of the 5 people he killed, he mentioned he had killed Paul Martin and Betty Jo Booker, and he named them. And when he was hitchhiking and confessed this, he had pulled a gun and robbed the driver before eventually escaping. That's really all the information on that guy. As well as there was a man who had tried to attack a woman at her home. He told her that he had killed 3 or 4 people, but he was eventually chased away. But police don't really believe it's either of these suspects, as they don't believe the real Phantom Killer would, like, boast about their crimes this way. In this one's just strange, but I kept it in because this guy sounds kind of cool. In May of 1946, a man who woke up from a several-week-long coma found out about the killings and believed he had actually committed them.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Right? He was an old ex-Army Air Force machine gunner. He was arrested downtown at a shooting gallery after hitting 23 bullseye in a row. So he's got the shooting part down. I mean, all those headshots. He said he had woke up from his coma and realized his gun was missing, and that the Phantom kind of vaguely matched his description. In his past, he had been discharged from the Air Force in 1945 for being psychoneurotic, but there's really absolutely no facts or evidence to link him to the crimes. Other than him kind of thinking he did. I just kept it in because, I mean, the dude got 30 or 23 bullseye in a row.
Yeah.
There's also been a few other false confessions, but I won't get into them. There is a couple other victims that they think might be part of the Phantom Killer spree, but they've never really been confirmed as related. In 1946, on May 7th, just 4 days after the Starks murder, the body of a man was found on the train tracks after being run over by the train. Police confirmed that he had been dead before he had been moved to the tracks, based on the deep knife wounds on his body that did not match the dirty and jagged marks that the train had left when it had run his body over.
Okay, that's crazy.
The coroner determined that he had been dead at least 2 hours before being put on the tracks. He was identified as Earl Cliff McSpadden, and this gentleman worked as a traveling oil storage tank builder. Because the Phantom Killer case is unsolved, locals believe he was either the Phantom's 6th victim or he was the Phantom and he killed himself by jumping in front of the train. I mean, he was
stabbing himself beforehand.
Right. And also is mentioned the disappearance of Virginia Carpenter, which is also a cold case in Texarkana from 1948, and this has also been speculated to be the work of the Phantom. I think they're kind of just lumping stuff in with it.
Yeah. Gross.
Updates for the survivors, I guess, the 3 of them. Jimmy Hollis eventually recovered from his injuries, those skull fractures, and he got married and had 7 kids. Briefly, he worked as an actor and appeared in the 1971 TV film They've Killed President Lincoln. He played Vice President Andrew Jackson, and he eventually moved to Houston and started working for NASA. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
And he died at age 54 in his sleep. So he still had a good life, which is awesome.
Died at 54 in his sleep? Jesus.
Yeah. That part not good. But I mean, he had a stint as an actor and then worked for NASA.
I know, I'm like, of what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully not sleep paralysis. Dun dun dun.
What?
No.
Fatal.
So his girlfriend at the time of the attacks, Mary Jean Larry, was interviewed several times by reporters, but she became fearful of leaving her house and ended up like moving in with family. Not much is known about her, but she had moved to Montana at some point, and died there, unfortunately, of cancer at only the age of 38. So she was very, very young.
Yeah.
Katie Starks eventually, so she's the one that powered through, going crazy after getting shot in the face twice. She eventually remarried and became Katie Stark Sutton. She died in 1994 at the age of 84. And she got buried next to Virgil. And then after her second husband passed away, he got buried beside her. So she's now buried in between both of her husbands, which I think is sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the movie that's based on this case, that's what this episode's all about, really, if you've forgotten, is the 1976 film The Town That Dreaded Sundown. And it's loosely based on the true events, and despite the movie's claim that only the names have been changed, because the movie claimed that, quote, the story you're about to see is true, where it happened, and how it happened, the fabricated parts of the film helped kind of create much of the myth and folklore around the murders for several decades. And the 1976 film also had a remake done in 2004. The interesting part is that every October, near Halloween, the 1976 movie is played in Texarkana. I mean, that's a ballsy town. At an outdoor...
You're really leaning into it.
Right? Yeah, I don't think I could handle that. At an outdoor movies in the park event that's sponsored by the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Oh my god.
Which makes me so happy.
Nope.
Yeah. The tradition started in 2003 of showing the movie in the park, and approximately 600 people attended each year. The director of the Texarkana Parks and Recreation Department, Robbie Robertson, advised in 2009 that many people had requested DVD copies of the movie. Robertson said, quote, "It's still shown only on VHS tape, and those aren't even available anymore," end quote. Robertson said that the city was unable to rent or get a copy from a local video store due to legal restrictions. I'm not sure what that's about. But instead, a copy is rented directly from the distributor for between $175 and $200 per show. So they have to like rent it from the distributor each year, I guess. But it may be a bit easier from now on because in 2013, a Blu-ray version of the movie was released by Scream Factory. So maybe they use that Blu-ray version now. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's my case. That's the Texarkana Moonlight Murders and the Phantom Killer, the Phantom Slayer, the Phantom whoever.
Phantom fucker.
Yeah. Well, it's a crazy case. I
know. I don't even know.
Yeah.
What to think.
It's got a lot. There's a lot going on, and
yeah.
But you got some strong survivors there. I mean, people that fought back and overcame what happened to them, which is great.
That's true.
We'll take a break and then we'll get into your case.
So, you may have heard of Aileen Wuornos, sometimes called the Damsel of Death.
Yeah. I know her name, but every time I hear her name, I forget why I know her name.
You probably heard of the movie that they did of it. That was called Monster. And that was the one with Charlize Theron. Or Thoreau. I don't know how you really say it.
I'm not sure either. I don't think I saw that movie.
I can't find it anywhere to watch it. It's not on Canadian Netflix or Prime or anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, yeah, she won an Oscar for it.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's based on Aileen Wuornos, and hers is quite a sad tale. She was born on 29th of February, 1956 in Rochester, Michigan. Leap day baby.
Oh, yeah.
Pat almost was one. His is the 28th of February, his birthday.
Oh. Yeah, just celebrate once every 4 years on your actual birthday.
Yeah.
That would suck so much. Oh.
Oh, I know. I think that's dumb.
Yeah.
I like the joking that they're like young though. That's funny.
Yeah. A quarter
then I
of
could
their
joke
age.
that he was. Yeah, then I could joke that he was the younger one. And then yeah, there's another kind of interesting date that's gonna come up later. You'll see.
Okay.
Ooh. But so her mother, Diane Wuornos, eloped with Eileen's father when she was just 14 on June 3rd, 1954. And Diane married Leo Pittman, who was 17 at the time.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
at least he's not.
Children.
Yeah, they're children, but at least he's not crazy, like older than her, with her getting married at 14.
Exactly, that would make it even cringier.
Yeah. This is cringe, but not too cringy.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I think it's weird that she was legally allowed to get married at 14, but I guess it was a different...
Yeah, the 50s.
I'm like, it's the 50s. That was that long ago. Jeez.
Once a woman or a girl gets her period, she's a woman. No questions asked. Ugh. So creepy.
Yeah. So no, not a big surprise, but they fought constantly. It was a rocky relationship. And but they did, manage to have some kids, of course.
Yeah.
Band-Aid, baby. No.
Yeah. Oh god.
But yeah, so they got married. It's a quick timeline, I'll tell you.
Okay.
For most of this. Yeah, they get married in June 54. Son Keith was born in 55. And he would later be diagnosed with schizophrenia, just as a not so fun fact. But by December of 1955, Diane was 7.5 months pregnant with Aileen.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
Keith had to have been born in the first 5 months of 1955.
Which still would have been conceived pretty close after them getting married, too.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's all bing bang boom.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Irish twins when they're close together.
Yeah.
But yeah, then at this point, Diane is also ready to file for divorce. She's
Okay.
not loving it. And then around this time, Leo, the father, went to jail for child molestation.
Oh. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, she'd be filing for divorce.
Oh, none of it's good for Aileen.
Yeah.
She had a rough go of her,
Mm-hmm.
as we say in Canada. Somehow he tried to escape going to jail by trying to enlist in the army, but shockingly, that failed.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know how that would work, so that's all I know about that.
Yeah, interesting.
At this point, Diane is 16 and not equipped to handle 2 small children alone. Who would be?
Yeah, oh gosh, she's so young. She's so young to have
young.
1 child, let alone 2 already, and have been married, and now divorced.
Yeah. She's very young and very, very dumb.
Aww.
She leaves them alone for hours, neglecting them while she went out and socialized and went to bars.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah. And then at the age of 4, Aileen and her brother Keith were completely abandoned by Mother Diane, and so they went to live with their maternal grandparents.
Hopefully they took care of them, but I feel like they didn't.
Sorry, you sound so hopeful. Right, it's like, oh, where could this be going? No,
Yeah.
she really didn't have a chance, Aileen. I don't feel like. There has been speculation that they both probably, I think, suffered from reactive attachment disorder, something with happens that kids that don't get the affection and like, touch and stuff at an early age that they need, like the good kind of touch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they don't get like babies that aren't given it affection and held and stuff. They get real messed up.
Okay.
People that have reactive attachment disorder, or RAD, not so rad.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a terrible name.
I know. They said. Anyway, I heard the acronym and was like, oh god.
Yeah.
But...
Call the acronym not RAD.
It's like that whole seasonal affective disorder just spells sad. That one's spot on though.
Yeah. I'm saying.
Yeah. So people that have RAD may not engage with their peers, may not develop healthy outlets for emotions and coping mechanisms for stress, etc., etc.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That sounds fair.
It's not affecting them in a good way.
No.
The grandparents were pretty poor and they both drank heavily. And they also had two other kids that were siblings of Diane's, the mother. But they were obviously a few years younger. I think they were pretty close to Aileen and Keith's age. They passed them off as their siblings anyway.
Okay.
They told them it was their
Just like
siblings.
older siblings.
Yeah. The kids were named Lori and Barry. Confusingly, the grandpa's name is also Lori.
Oh.
So I spelled them differently in my notes. I was like,
Yeah.
Because I was listening to a podcast on this one. I was like, I'm sure the Lori spells it the girl way.
Yeah.
Not that anyone's going to hear my spelling, so it doesn't matter.
Lori 1 and Lori 2.
Oh, right. The grandma's name is Britta. So there's that. Okay. And Aileen, I said this. They were told their grandparents were their parents and their, I guess, aunt and uncle were their siblings. And Lori, the girl, and Aileen did not get along, and Barry reportedly kind of ignored all of them. So it still seemed like it was mostly, Aileen and her brother Keith.
Yeah.
The unit. Yeah.
Yeah, sticking together.
In 1962, as Britta and Lori slept off a bender, the girls Lori and Aileen decided to start little fires everywhere.
Oh
Sorry.
Book shout out.
Book shout out. And it's a show now. Little
Yeah.
fires everywhere.
With
I'm sorry.
Reese
I have fun.
Witherspoon.
Yeah. She's been doing some cool stuff on TV.
Yeah.
So one of these fires got out of control and actually burned Aileen. And then Keith ratted on the girls, but told the Rents it was all Eileen's idea and fault. So Aileen was punished.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that was her brother?
Yeah, Keith ratted her out. Isn't that nice? So once Lori, the grandfather, made them watch him drown a kitten as punishment.
What
Sorry about that.
Oh my god.
I know. They definitely did not have it easier once they got here.
No. I don't know which is worse. Just straight abandonment and neglect, or like freaking psychological abuse. Or like physical abuse.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know anything about this case, but yeah, I definitely think that it was her upbringing that fucked her up.
Yeah. Wow.
Excuse me. Yeah. So yeah, it just gets worse. Sorry. Diane, Eileen's mother, had said to some people that was partly the reason that she left home at a young age was because of his sexual abuse. So he's just all around great.
Oh,
Lori,
okay.
the grandfather. abused Aileen as well, abused her sexually and beat her, and he would even invite his friends to come participate in his sadism.
Ugh.
It's really bad.
People suck.
Oh man, he's the worst. Yeah, and he would also apparently encourage Keith to rape Aileen as well. Keith says he didn't rape her. Aileen has said various things. She goes back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, she's definitely not
Yeah,
super stable.
awful upbringing. Oh my god.
Yeah. And it's been noted that sexual abuse of children can lead to the abuse having mistrust of other adults and aggressive tendencies and an inability to relate without sexual interaction. Which is interesting. Yeah, that'll come into play right now. Because Aileen turned to sex work as she, I said grew into a teenager, but like it started really young. Yeah, it was like her sexuality was her form of currency. It was the only thing that anybody seemed to value about her, unfortunately, but that's my opinion. She sold sex to boys at her school, and the boys would call her the cigarette pig because she would get paid in smokes too.
Ugh.
It hurts me.
Yeah.
You know. In 1968, when Aileen was 12, she found out who her parents actually were because she was so young. They really did believe that, you know, those were her parents.
Yeah, what a shock. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how she found out. But she had no idea. She had no idea that her real father was a criminal. She, was too young. And just a year after that, in 1969, she learned that he killed himself in his cell by hanging.
Oh. That's awful.
I have so many bullets, and they're all bad.
I can't imagine, though, like, finding out, like, your parents aren't your parents, and then not only were the people you thought were your parents not your parents and were abusing you your, like, whole life, but then you find out your real parents, like, real mom abandoned you and, like, neglected you, and then your father was in prison and killed himself. Like, that's a lot to take in.
She totally didn't ever stand a chance, I don't think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised if her and Keith both became serial killers, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I was gonna say, she just like never had probably never felt she had anyone that she could trust that loved her. Everybody let her down. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even it sounds like Keith. I was like rooting for the pair of them before, and now I hate him just as much as everybody else.
Yeah. I know, I'm just like, how do I do this? Okay. So by 1970, when she found out who her real parents were when she was 12, that was 1968. By 1970, she is pregnant and unsure of the father. Remember the sex work and all that.
Yeah.
And she's 14, but she does think it could belong to her grandfather's because he did rape her.
Oh, that's still going on. Okay.
Yeah. In the documentary Life and Death of a Serial Killer, her childhood friend Dawn said that it was probably a local pedophile named Chief that was the actual father. And Dawn said that he had raped Aileen when she was drunk.
Ugh.
It's a real guessing game who the dad is, yeah.
It sounds awful.
Mm-hmm. So not surprisingly, when she gave birth to the baby boy on the 23rd of March 1971, she gave him up for adoption. But she actually named him Keith first, after her brother.
Okay. Well,
she still likes Keith, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and she realizes she's not equipped to handle a child or anything, so she's getting the child out of the situation she's in, which is a hard decision to make.
Yeah. And she does, I'm sure she doesn't want to bring up a kid in that house.
No.
Britta, the grandmother, died of liver cancer in 1971. As an immediate consequence, Laurie threw out Keith and Aileen faster than you can say child abandonment. For the second time.
Oh. Well.
Yeah, even before the funeral had taken place.
Wow.
Yeah. He's a piece of shit.
I can say I hope they get in a better situation, but I'm like 99.99% true it just gets worse.
It's a really rough story. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Mine was pretty rough this week too, okay? I was just like, oh, it's like so many shots to the face and descriptions of gunshot wounds.
Yeah, not knowing who the killer is.
Yeah.
It's weird. So after being kicked out, she actually did continue to go to school, which surprised me.
Good for her.
Yeah. She continued to do sex work to support herself, and she kind of camped out in the woods near her old house.
Okay.
Later that year, Aileen was caught with 4 ounces of Acapulco gold weed at school. When told to report to the principal's office, however, she retorted, "I ain't reporting nowhere, and I quit school." And, yeah.
All right,
then she quit, so that didn't last a whole hell of a long time.
How old would she have been? She would have been
14, 15 at this point still, I guess. This is later that same year.
I was thinking she was a bit older, so I was like, she went through most of her education. I'll give her that, but okay.
Yeah, my daughter's age, actually. Oh my god.
Don't think like that.
Yeah, she would never leave. We supply her Oreos.
You pay for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly. I know, she's in the teenager phase, always in her room on the phone or whatever. Anyway, she drifted around after that, Aileen, that is, getting in small brushes with the law and, garnering some DUIs and stuff like that, for which a warrant was issued. She ended up in Florida, where she met and married a socialite and yachtsman? I don't think I've ever said that word out loud in my life. Named Lewis Fell. It was even announced in the society pages. Can you believe that?
Wow, she traded up.
I don't even know how she would have met him. No idea. But she did. He was older and clearly more wealthy than her, and after they married, Aileen had trouble adjusting to this new lifestyle. She had everything she needed, but she was often bored and antsy, not liking this quiet, semi-retired life. So she would go out and get into bar fights.
Oh, God.
When confronted by her husband about this, she attacked him with his own cane.
He had a cane?
Not a good look. Apparently.
Oh, it's probably one of those decorative walking sticky things.
I'm not sure.
Not
of
like
his
an
age.
old
Yeah.
man cane.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
You're probably right, because she's only just a few years... I was going to say out of high school, but yeah.
I don't think they'd be announcing in the paper if he's marrying a 15-year-old. And he's like 60. I don't think they'd be announcing that shit in the socialite paper. But...
No, by the looks of it, she's just maybe a few years has gone by, so she's still pretty young. And okay, so she attacked him with his cane, and then after she attacked a bar patron with a pool cue, Lewis had enough, and he filed for an annulment and a restraining order.
Okay. Wow.
They call that the Aileen Wuornos.
Oh my god.
No. That was mean. Okay.
You take that back.
By this time, it is 1976, and Keith has throat cancer, and it's aggressive.
Oh my gosh, no!
Aileen returns to Michigan to see Keith. Poor Keith. Their grandfather, Laurie, then died by suicide in March of 1976.
Don't feel bad about it.
No. And I would hope that one wouldn't affect her like Keith. But anyway, she then fell back into sex work, drug use, and other types of avoidance behavior. She's unable to cope with these challenges, and she's back in her old neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And then on the 14th of July, 1976, she was arrested for assault when she threw a cue ball at a bartender's head. She should stop going to places where they have pool tables.
Yeah. Seems to be her weapon of choice, is anything pool related.
I know, I was listening to a podcast and I'm sure they called it a pool stick, and that made me laugh. Like a pool stick with the pool cue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, pool
Anyway.
stick, I mean, it sounds weird.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, back to this horrible story. On the 17th of July, Keith died. So this was, 3 days after she was arrested for the assault.
Aw, so she didn't get to be with him.
No,
Oh.
she didn't.
But she got to see him, though, right?
She had been back in the area, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like, yes, she must have. But she did take this very hard. I think they speculated that she had kind of denied the fact that he had been terminal. I mean, they were still so young, right?
Yeah.
And she did feel like she didn't say a proper goodbye because she was in jail for the assault at the time of his death. On the 21st of July, the marriage to Lewis was officially annulled. So this is all happening again in very quick succession.
Yeah.
Her brother Keith had left her an inheritance, or, a life insurance payout of some kind. He'd left her $10,000. That's what it amounted to.
Okay. So she's got a bit of money.
Yeah. Now, she received this money sometime in August of 1976. She ended up getting a DUI in the same August and used her money to pay off the fine for that and to buy a new car because that one was crashed. Yeah, so by September she had also crashed that car and was basically broke again.
No. Oh my gosh. No.
I feel like, I don't know, I've been poor lots, but I'm like, no, you get some money, you don't just, piss it away.
Yeah, number one, find a place to live.
Yeah. Ugh. She then hitchhiked around the country, going out west for a while. By 1981, she was back in Florida again. She had lived there before. And on May 20th, 1981, she committed an armed robbery, stealing 2 packs of cigarettes and what ended up being $35 cash from a cash register.
Wow.
And she was sentenced to 13 months and was released in June of 1983. So yeah, and then in 1984, she met a woman named Tony, and they apparently had a brief relationship and started some sort of small business together. Honestly, couldn't get many details on that, but then, unfortunately, Tony also left her and kind of left her in the lurch and took their money. So that was really shitty.
Just like coming left, right, and everything.
I know. She just, can't catch a break.
Mm-hmm.
Until 1986, she did meet a lovely lady named Tyria, or she went by Ty, so that's what we'll call her. And they fell in love and began living together.
Okay.
Yay! One for her!
Wait, I hope it stays happy? Question mark.
Yeah. Well, all was well and quiet until November 30th of 1989. Aileen was working the street when she was picked up by one Richard Mallory. While they discussed payment in his car, he began attacking Aileen. He hit her and attempted to rape her. It was apparent to her that he did not want to pay for what he could take by force.
Mm-hmm.
So she pulled out her .22 caliber pistol. Was that the same as yours? I feel like you had a 22 or a 32.
Yeah, there was a 22 by the ones that killed or attempted to kill the Stark.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And, so 2 bullets punctured his lungs and he bled out. She drove him to another country, stripped him, and dumped his body, leaving in his Cadillac. Richard had recently filed for bankruptcy, and he had a criminal record involving attempted rape. So, I don't know. He maybe did. He tried to rape her. I don't know.
Yeah, she's cleaning up the streets.
She tends to think so sometimes. When Aileen got home, she told Ty what had happened, but Ty apparently did like being supported by the money that Aileen brought in, so she chose to say nothing to the police in any case.
I mean, and still, if she was about to be sexually assaulted, then...
Yeah. She's probably like, okay, you did what you had to do.
Yeah.
But then, her second kill, in May of
He
1980...
fell on the gun, officer.
Yeah. In May of 1989, Aileen is picked up by a David Spears, 42, a construction worker from Winter Garden, Florida. Later, she would say that he also tried to rape her. She said, quote, "I thought, what the hell you think you're doing, dude, you know? You know I'm gonna kill you because you're trying to do whatever you could with me. And I shot him through the door, and then he kind of went back, and I went right through to the driver's side and shot him again, and he fell back. And that's all I remember on that one."
Okay.
So.
Well, I mean, if you're involved in a lot of sex work, I mean, you're bound to be at a high rate of being in situations where people are attempting to sexually assault you. So it's possible that it could happen on more than one occasion.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this one had no prior charges for rape or anything like that.
Yeah, and she shot him and then walked around to the other side of the vehicle and shot him again. So that's a little excessive. She could have left after the first one, maybe.
True.
Yeah.
And then a third kill. So now the bodies are stacking up.
Yeah, even less likely.
This was Charles Carskadden. She shot him 9 times in the chest and stomach, and no apparent attempted rape seemed to be involved.
Yeah. That's 9 times. You shoot anybody 9 times.
I know, we know her fucked up upbringing and all this stuff. And this kind of reminds me of your case a little too, that some were speculating that this was she was entering a bit of a berserker phase that killers might have.
Oh, yeah.
Like named after the whole Viking berserker go nuts, kill a bunch of people thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
leaving little time between kills, getting more risky, and being dangerous and unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the first 2 happened, I guess that was, November 1989, and then May. And then I literally don't have a date for the third one. And then 4th kill, Peter Sims, June 1990. So just the next year. He was missing. Yeah, he was known to pick up hitchhikers frequently and had been driving to see family in Arkansas when he came in contact with Aileen. Picked her up.
Okay.
Just as a hitchhiker. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And when she tried to kill him, he fought back, grappling with her for the gun, and his body has actually never been found.
Oh, that's always the worst thing out of anything that can happen to somebody. I feel like their body not being found makes everything worse.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a fear of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Aileen kept that guy's car for a while, Sims's car, until the 4th of July, 1990, when she crashed it while drunk driving and left it in a ditch.
Oh.
She and Ty were drinking and driving on the 4th of July, having a little fun.
Yeah, she just needs to get out of drinking.
She needs to get some help. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Once police discovered the vehicle was registered to a missing individual, the witnesses to the crash were questioned, and the car was dusted for prints.
Oh, okay.
So because they had both been there, Aileen felt that the heat was coming down on her, and she sent Ty away for her safety. And then she had a 5th kill. Troy Eugene Burris went missing on the 31st of July. He was a 50-year-old sausage salesman from Ocala. Sorry, this is still all in Florida, so just Florida.
Yeah.
His body was found on August 4th. And then the 6th kill was Charles Richard Dick Humphreys, Charles was 56.
Oh God, sorry.
Dick Humphreys.
Such an unfortunate name.
I mean, he just probably... Yeah,
Like,
I'm glad they don't still call many Richards that anymore. But
yeah, going by Dick, and then your last name also being Humphreys. It's
I know, I prefer Rick.
Yeah, it's just a double whammy of terrible.
Yeah. But this guy didn't lack for any respect. He was 56 and a former chief of police, an Air Force... Let me try that again. He was a former chief of police, Air Force major, and state child abuse investigator.
Aww.
All three
And now
of
he's a
those
sausage
things.
king.
Nope, that was the last guy.
Oh. Damn it.
Yeah, that was Troy Eugene Burris.
Damn it. Okay.
Sorry, there's just so many, I'm not giving many details. And she's going at it fast and furious. It's like, and she
Yeah.
doesn't care. Like, these guys are obviously not trying to rape her.
No.
This
No,
guy
it doesn't sound
dedicated
like
his
it.
life. Yeah, he was the person that dedicated his life to helping others, obviously, by being, you know, former army and police and everything.
Yeah.
Too bad he hadn't come, you know, met her when she was young, as, you know, he was a child abuse investigator.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ugh,
It could have helped
irony.
her so much.
Mm-hmm. He pitched... Sorry. He picked up Aileen in early September while she was hitchhiking on the road, and his body was found on September 11th, 1990 in Sewanee County, I guess, and he had been shot 6 times in the head.
Oh my gosh.
Finally, her 7th kill, Walter Gino Antonio, 62, was a trucker / security guard / police reservist who picked up Aileen. So again, not easy victims, I wouldn't think.
No, like former police and like that kind of stuff. Like those people. Yeah.
I mean, they got some moves, for sure.
Yeah, they have some like a little bit of like combat training and stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
And he did, and he fought back when Aileen attacked him. He was able to pull the car over, which makes me think she was attacking him while he was still driving. I mean, I guess that makes
Dangerous.
sense, but yeah, it's so dangerous. I don't know if that was part of her usual MO or not. Yeah, and then he tried to run on foot away from her, and she shot him in the back as he fled. And yeah, his body was later found in Dixie County, shot 4 times with a .22 caliber gun. And 5 days later, his car was found in a different county.
Wow.
She's leaving them all over the place. But police begin to see a pattern.
Yeah, so they gotta be closing in. She's killed 6 people. Jeez.
Exactly, 7. But yeah, it had probably taken longer because she dumped, I think, all the bodies in all different counties. And that would presumably be different jurisdictions.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. But it all connected back when they investigated that crashed car that had belonged to one of the victims, Peter Sims. It was their only lead. So they identified a handprint in the vehicle, and it belonged to Aileen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, she is leaving fingerprints everywhere.
Yeah, she's no, you know, mastermind murderer. I
No.
wouldn't say.
I mean, she's smart about leaving them in different counties, but...
True. Yeah.
Wipe it down.
So they tracked her down at her favorite local watering hole. The bar's name, The Last Resort.
Oh, God.
I thought that was funny.
Just like mine, the hotel called Hotel Grim.
True.
Escaping a serial killer. It's just like, oh,
There's
gosh.
some definite mirror similarities to our cases.
Yeah.
So they took her into custody on January 9th, 1991. They told her this was for an outstanding warrant from her DUI.
Okay.
And they didn't... Yeah. So I guess they didn't have quite enough evidence.
Maybe don't want to tip her off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they want to try and get her for as many of them as they can, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought in Ty for questioning, and Ty agreed to strike a deal for her own immunity.
Fair.
Yeah, that's true. She agreed to call Aileen and coerce a confession. She tried, they talked a few times, but Aileen wouldn't say anything incriminating. She told Ty to stay calm. Stay calm, bitch.
Yeah. Okay.
Mama's got you. No. But finally, they decided to use her love for Ty against her. Ty pretended to be scared for her own safety, saying she did not want to go to jail for something she didn't do. But, you know, she had already made a deal, so...
Yeah.
And so Aileen did confess. That worked. So she confessed on the 16th of January, 1991. She claimed that all the murders were self-defense and that Ty had no involvement. I think one of those is true.
Yeah, you'd think after the 4th time hitchhiking doesn't turn out good for you, you'd maybe stop hitchhiking.
Yeah, you're
Instead
like,
of getting
I just
up
have
to
to keep shooting them.
Every time somebody picks me up while I'm hitchhiking, they try and attack me, and I end up having to shoot them 9 times in the head.
I swear.
Maybe stop hitchhiking. Yeah.
So
Jeez.
then she sold the rights to her story, thinking she would get some of the profits at the least. But as
Not
it
when you
turns
sell
out,
the rights.
what?
Not if you sell the rights, you're not gonna get profit. Right? Because you just sold the rights to the other
But
person.
presumably they'd pay you for the rights. But the thing is, criminals aren't allowed to benefit off royalties like that.
Yeah.
So you can make the deal and, like, quote unquote sell it, but she's not allowed to keep any profits. So she was pissed to find this out.
I did all of this for nothing.
Yeah, she actually ended up firing her lawyer, Richard Armstrong, because he had been the one to approach the filmmaker. I think the filmmaker's name was Giroux, something French sounding. But they claimed that no money was ever exchanged for this deal between the lawyer and the filmmaker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Shrug.
Yeah, unlikely.
Yeah. Aileen wrote letters to her friend Dawn, her childhood friend, while she was in prison. They liked to talk about their past and to talk about the Wizard of Oz for some reason.
Okay.
And then this Christian lady, Arlene Prawley, wrote to Aileen at her prison. She had seen Eileen's case in the newspaper and felt God's call to her to help Aileen, she said. She was a horse.
Sorry.
Oh, I kept thinking, come on, Aileen.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome. COVID-19. No, have you heard that one?
But I do love that song.
Oh, it's so good. Not surprising to me, she was a horse farmer and a born-again Christian.
A horse farmer. Oh, God. Christian.
A horse farmer. Oh, maybe I hear some people say, don't trust horse people.
Yeah.
But
Horse
horses are
person
great.
and a Christian? My God. It's too much.
Yeah. But they struck up a friendship, and Prawley was maternal and sent support in the form of Bible verses and other tidbits that she sent to Aileen.
Okay.
Aileen and Arlene. It's kind of confusing.
At least somebody's trying to be there for her, I guess.
That's true. And in fact, so much so that Prawley, only 9 years older than Wuornos, adopted her legally on the 2nd of November 1991.
Aww.
Oh, I know.
That's
I
a
think
nice
that was kinda
gesture.
Cool. Yeah. Finally, someone said they wanted her.
Mhm.
Okay. Dawn cautioned Aileen against too much trust in this new relationship with Arlene Prawley. So many people had used her before, she said. And then Aileen said to her, I love to give love. I know I've hurt myself being this way, but the pain doesn't feel so bad knowing you are struggling to give love. I thought that was pretty sad and
Yeah,
know.
it's kind of confusing. I don't quite understand.
yeah, it's like, people keep hurting me, but if I'm, like, trying to love them, it doesn't feel so bad. I'm like, I don't know, but it just makes me feel sad for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she did flip-flop also about her faith in Prawley. She did trust her a lot of times, and then sometimes she didn't have as much faith in her, and she would speculate that maybe Prawley was working with the mob somehow and after her.
I highly doubt the mob's after her.
I know, she's getting more paranoid.
Yeah.
And remember, her brother had schizophrenia, too. Maybe, I don't know.
True.
I don't know if that's hereditary.
I think it is, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's quite hereditary.
Oh.
Yeah.
We are not a doctor. Okay, so
Not a doctor.
I was listening to a podcast about this, and they kept being like, just so you know, my co-host here, like, they were like, is not a psychiatrist, and then they'd, like, say something about, like, rad or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I get it, you're not a fucking doctor.
Google has told me.
So, Aileen Prawley, this horse lady, did not always seem to have Eileen's best interests in heart.
You don't say.
At heart? Did I say in heart? Whatever.
Oh, yeah, you said in her.
She did meet with Eileen's newest attorney, Stephen Glazier, and they negotiated some terms, agreeing that Prawley would receive a percentage of the book deal that was now in play.
Skeevy.
Mm-hmm. She also benefited from this relationship with Aileen. And then during the trial, the first trial for Richard Mallory, Aileen insisted on taking the stand against the wishes of her counsel. Never good.
Yeah.
Once on the stand, she invoked the Fifth Amendment 25 times to prevent incriminating herself.
Then why bother?
Right. This trial lasted 13 days, then followed by 2 hours of deliberation by the jury, followed by a guilty verdict.
Yeah, 2 hours is short.
Of deliberation? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know. Yeah. On January 27th, after the verdict was announced, Aileen stood up and cried out, "I was raped. I hope you get raped, scumbags of America." So I don't think she what is that word? Engendered herself towards the jury, or
no,
made herself look that good, or
must have been a pretty compelling.
Endeared herself.
It sounds like a pretty, from what you've laid out, it sounds like a pretty compelling case against her. Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, in the span of a year and a half, I don't think you hitchhiking or working as a sex worker would have to kill 7 people in self-defense of getting raped.
No, exactly.
I don't think that's likely to happen in a year and a half 7 times.
No. But it's weird because they did try them separately. So this is still the first guy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why they did it that way, but she had a few different trials. And after she had that little outburst, she wrote to Dawn, "Did I suddenly get demon-possessed or what? At least I brought some humor to the courtroom."
Wow.
Oh god, almost done. Okay. Her defense team requested an assessment of her mental competency. Not surprised.
Yeah. I feel like there definitely is some sort of mental health thing, and for sure an addiction to alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what they said too, because they performed one, whomever, scientist, whatever. And while she was deemed to be suffering from at least borderline personality disorder and antisocial disorder, they cleared her as competent enough to receive her punishment. Like, she knew what she was on trial for and all that shit, right? So...
yeah, she took their vehicles and bodies and hid them in separate counties. She knew what she was doing.
Exactly. So you can't say, like, that's insanity or anything. Yeah.
No.
And then she pled no contest to the next 3 murders. That was Humphreys, Beerus, and Spears. And that was on May 15th, 1992. So, like, they got her now. They got her on enough of them.
Yeah, it always weirded me out when they do separate trials for them.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe in case one fails, you wouldn't want her to have to get a mistrial and...
Yeah, drag the rest down or something.
Yeah. Her family, if you can call it that, visited her in jail once. Yeah, her quote-unquote sister, Lori, told her, "When you get the chair, I only wish I could be pulling the switch."
Oh my god. Yeah, sounds like nobody in the family cared about any of the other people, except she tried to care about most of them.
That's right. She said, "I love to give love."
Yeah.
And even, this was another thing that was about the trials that was horrible. Her siblings had taken the stand against her, denying that she'd ever been abused by the senior Lori.
Oh yeah, that's not okay.
Either
stay out of it or don't do that.
You're just continuing all the cycles of abuse and gaslighting and In the end, she received 6 death sentences in total. She was 36 years old.
Jeez.
Wow. She appeared to ping pong from guilt to pride in being a hero, quote unquote, obviously, for women everywhere. Which you kind of alluded to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it must have sprung from the first one and just thought, oh, I'm not taking any abuse anymore. But then it just... You overcorrected, honey.
Yeah. A bit too much.
And then Ty wrote to Aileen only once to explain her involvement in the confession. She had really been scared, she said. Scared of Aileen and what would happen if she had turned her in.
Oh, yeah. You can't fault her in anything she did.
I don't think so. Yeah. And she did seem to actually treat Aileen pretty good for the most part, other than the working with the police. But, like, exactly, you can't really blame her for being scared of someone that unpredictable.
I mean, your girlfriend's going around shooting a whole shit ton of people, and you're just like, yeah.
You're like, that's great, honey.
Yeah, I made a pot roast. I hope it's not burnt. Don't shoot me. Like, jeez.
Pot roast. Oh yeah, the only motive Aileen ever mentioned was finances. She did like providing for Ty.
And that's fair. I mean, I feel like that's what it became. It just came about, well, I could do like sex work and get the money out of the people, or I could shoot them and take all of the money they have on them.
And their car. So she eventually gave up, no longer trying to fire her lawyers, and she kind of gave up entirely on life. At one point before her execution, they administered a psychopathy test on which she scored a 32 out of 40, 40 being full psychopath.
Yeah, she sounds very unremorseful. Oh.
Yeah. But I do have pity for her also.
Absolutely.
So Jeb Bush was the Florida governor at the time, and he had stayed her execution during the mental assessments. But him being pro-capital punishment, he definitely, I say happily, but I don't know, but he revoked the stay of execution, and so all was set to go ahead with her death. So before she died, Nick Broomfield, a filmmaker, did a few interviews for his documentary. She talked about the prison trying to break her mentally. She seemed very paranoid, saying that they had used the intercom on in her cell constantly. They had the intercom on in her cell constantly. And, like, lied to her about it. And I remember hearing this somewhere before. It sticks with you. That they had been using pressure on her head since 1997, and that it was crushing her head.
Pressure on her head.
Pressure on her head. She thinks the prison is out to get her or something. Yeah. I don't know. Crushing your head makes me think of a Kids in the Hall sketch where he would sit and look at people from a distance and go, I am crushing your head, and pretend to pinch their heads. So silly.
Yeah, that seems... I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, if it probably goes back just to mental health problem then.
Yeah, I think so.
Definitely could be schizophrenia. Maybe they weren't using the intercom, so maybe she was just hearing voices.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought it was the intercom. You know? You don't really know.
Yeah, no way to know. She regrets losing Ty and that the victims had to lose a loved one also. She did feel like she could relate to that part of it.
Okay.
But then she spoke to no one on her last month on Earth. She wrote to Dawn, "I miss you, Dawn, but I hate this world. I'd prefer to leave it."
Aw. I mean,
Yeah.
right from day one, she's had a shit life, really.
Mm-hmm. Dawn came and visited with her from 9 to midnight the night before her execution, and they ate hamburgers from the commissary.
Aw.
They hung.
Aw. That makes me feel good. That was her childhood friend, you said?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, the guards said she slept badly that night and was restless. But once she got to the lethal injection chamber, she was surprised by the number of people that were there in attendance. Like, mostly victims' family and other people were gathered. And I found that interesting that she refused her last meal, having only coffee instead.
Okay.
Coffee. Going out with coffee breath. Ugh. Doesn't sound pleasant.
Yeah.
And also, if we had more time, I would totally ask you what you'd have as your last meal, but maybe we'll think about that for next time.
Okay.
I love books on that and stuff. So
yeah, I was just gonna say, isn't there a book of just pictures of people's last meals?
I think so, yeah. And then, she was the 10th woman put to death in the U.S. since 1976, when she died on October 9th, 2002.
Oh my god.
That's today! It's October 9th!
So 19
Sorry.
years ago today?
Yeah!
Wow.
You're so fast at math. I was
I'm
thinking
actually
about it earlier. I was
terrible
like,
at math.
But that was another one of those, during my research, it's like, we're going to record this probably on this day.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Weird.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully she found peace and everything now, because...
Yeah, she's had fame and notoriety since her death. There was a little bit on Wikipedia about the 2 documentaries that she was featured in from that guy that did the interview with her, and I guess Robert Ressler mentioned her in one of his books.
Okay. I think so.
Yeah.
I think I remember... I think I've only ever gotten 3/4 of the way through Mindhunter, but... I do remember him talking about her, but he does talk about people. Sometimes it's just a sentence here and there about somebody.
Yes.
So.
Basically, I think it was that he said most female serial killers tend to kill in sprees, but she was the exception. Yeah. And, then the Monster movie came out. She earned an Academy Award for Best Actress. And fun fact, Charlize won the Oscar, on what would have been Eileen's 48th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and they're making a prequel now called Aileen Wuornos, American Boogie Woman, and Jigsaw from Saw is going to be in it.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Is she gonna murder him?
I don't know.
Is he gonna be the Sausage King? How old was the Sausage King?
The Sausage King.
Just
I did
makes
love
me
that
think
little
of,
tidbit.
It just makes me think of Ferris Bueller, the Sausage King of Chicago.
Oh God, I don't remember this part, but
they're trying to get a reservation at the restaurant, and they like read the thing, and it's like so and so, the Sausage King of Chicago, and then they pretend he's the Sausage King so they can get in at the restaurant.
Nice.
Yeah,
Classic.
so you're like, oh yeah, he's a sausage salesman. I was like, what? It's great.
He's a sausage salesman, if you know what I mean.
Got one.
All right. Well, thanks for sticking with us. If anyone's still here, it was a doozy.
Yeah, what's the episode after this? I've forgotten now.
It's the penultimate Halloween
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's Halloween lore and legends, or Samhain,
Yeah.
or if we're really woke and we know how to say it properly, it's literally Gaelic, so it's pronounced something like Samhain, which
Okay. I'll leave that to you. I have no idea.
right? I've always said, or someone said it best the other day when I was listening to a podcast and they were like, Supernatural ruined it for me. I've been saying Samhain for years. I'm like, me too.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, but anyway, we're doing Halloween lore, we'll call it.
Yeah.
So then we don't have to argue about the pronunciation.
The origins of Halloween.
Fuck
It's not
yeah,
all-
I'm excited.
It's not all candy and trick-or-treating and pumpkins. Well, it is pumpkins,
It's
but
actually turnips. They
turnip.
used turnips because
Yeah.
there weren't pumpkins in Ireland and Scotland and stuff. So the turnips are fucking creepy looking. We'll get into it. It'll be
Ooh.
good, you guys. You'll have to come back for that next week.
Yes. And
All right.
our Patreon too. We can spoil that for everybody. We're
Remember
gonna
what
be
we're
doing
doing?
the Warren family. We're gonna cover some of their cases.
Yes, we are. You
Yeah.
have to join us on Patreon
Yes.
from the link because
Yeah.
that'll work.
All
All right,
right.
catch you next time.
Yes. Thanks for listening. Bye. This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers and become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. We are working on an Ask Us Anything. You can submit questions by social media or by email at castlesandcryptids@gmail.com. Do you have a spooky ghost story, a creepy cryptid sighting, or a thrilling true crime tale you would like to share and have us include in a future episode? Send us your listener story by social media or by email. Please include the name that you would like mentioned. Our music is by Kobe Fair. Our logo and artwork is by Antonio Garcia. Thanks for listening.